Disclaimer. The character I call Kukuki is actually Kukui, and it is based off a tree. Any discussion in regards to what his name is based off in regards to not being a tree, I am wrong. Apparently both Kukui and Hala are based off of trees. That gives a little bit more credence to Kukui being the substitute regional professor, if not the actual regional professor. I apologize for not realizing this a lot sooner. So the Alola region, can you say Hawaii inspired region confirmed? Pokemon! 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 Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon and Sun discussion. Today, of course, we're going to discuss the Alola region in general in regards to everything that was seen in the trailers outside of the starters and the legendaries. If you want to go ahead and figure out my... if you want to go check out my opinion and my perspective of the Sun and Moon starters as well as the legendaries, feel free to watch my video in regards to that, but we're going to discuss in this particular everything else. So, of course, if you also want to see my reaction to the Japanese trailer, because I didn't think there was an English version of the trailer, it is also in my starter and legendary speculation video. Because most of my reactions were in regards to the Pokemon themselves. So anyway, this is what we're going to discuss in this particular video. The player characters, the non-player characters, and the region itself. And I think that's pretty much all we're going to discuss in this particular video. So let's jump right into the player character selection. Well, Game Freak has done it. I understand why they did it, but welcome to the 7th generation, home of the most generic player characters of any generation. Let's give Game Freak a round of applause. I mean, I can understand the complaints for players who are playing the game and the characters are too unique, but anime-wise, unless the female character dresses up as a Piplup or some other Pokemon, looking at all these female characters, none of them really look all that viable for being in the anime as a main character or whatever. But if I had to choose one, it would be the third one, the slightly tanned haired one with the brown hair is the one that's most appealing. Now, I'll be slightly fair in regards to the genericness or whatever. I do think the last two male options do look rather unique, as well as the last two female characters. Probably because of, well, nothing racist or anything like that. Of course not. What? No, I'm just saying that for whatever reason, they pop out more than the other characters. And the first two options are like something, either male or female, is like something that I don't necessarily want to see a lot of. However, the last two options are definitely ones that pop out, and I'm like, yeah, I would really like to see those more than the normal, generic, blonde and brown, bleached skin versions of the other ones, you know? So, yeah, it is kind of strange that that's what it is. So, that's pretty much all I have to say in regards to that. Very generic, nothing really that I really like. You know, some people are saying, oh, look, the female player character looks a lot like Serena, and while that's true, it's just still way generic, more than Serena was, you know, and Serena was pretty generic. The generic player characters started with 6th generation, and Game Freak outdid themselves by making the characters even more generic. Like I said, the last two options of the male and females do stand out, but I'm thinking they only stand out because we don't have characters like that all that much, so of course they would be more unique. Especially the final male option, there's just something about the skin complexion as well as the hair that makes it like stand out the most in regards to that. But outside of that, not really sure whether or not I like the player characters all that much, you know. But hopefully, given that the trailer does seem to indicate trainer customization, maybe we can overlook what's there in the profile images, and maybe we'll get something that looks a little bit better with trainer customization. So anyway, let's move on to the non-playable characters, the NPCs of the game. So the first two what we have here is I have an image here, and it's of Kukuki and Hala. And I say in this photo we see both Kukuki and Hala because I really couldn't get images of both separately because I don't think there was much options or whatever. I think Kukuki was like otherwise. I mean, well, there was that beginning one, and I think there was a close up of Hala, but I decided that since they seem to be in relation to each other or whatever, I am just going to discuss both of them so you can see both of them. So to tell the difference between the two, apparently Kukuki, based on the English trailer, is the younger scientist researcher looking person with the lab coat or whatever, while Hala is the old man. And I'm not sure if that's his English name or not. I'm not really sure where Hala came from, but a lot of people are saying that the person that gives you your Pokemon is named Hala. And but Kukuki is definitely the young lab person because it was mentioned in the English trailer. So I think I tried to say this in my previous video, but I'm not really sure or something or whatever, but I did mention that Kukuki seems like he could be your cousin, even though it's not necessarily confirmed. I don't know if Hawaiians or someone like that call people cousins just because I think I've seen this before where people that are close to Hawaiian natures in particular movies call certain people cousins, someone that they like respect or whatever. They're like, hey cousin, what's going on, you know, or something like that. So I don't know if it's slang, but Kukuki does call the player character cousin. I don't know if that means they're actually related or if it's just a slang word of referencing somebody just because of the cultural differences in that particular region. So I don't know. But if it's possible, it looks like we may have a cousin researcher type person. So, but of course what I say here is I really can't tell which one is the regional professor. I mean, I'll tell you why it makes sense, who the regional professor is or whatever. But based on looks alone, it definitely looks more like Kukuki looks like the regional professor, while Hala it seemingly seems like he's just someone with great importance and authority inside the Alola region or whatever. But apparently Hala is actually the name of a tree. It's called Hala in Hawaii or whatever. It's like a Hawaiian tree of some sort. And so if we go by the how all the other professors were named after trees, oak, elm, birch, rowan, sycamore, and juniper, those were based off of trees, and of course Hala is of course based off of a tree. So it looks like that the old man could be the regional professor. But he doesn't look like he is the professor, and I'm not saying that it's impossible for him to be a professor, but it's just kind of weird that the professor supposedly has that particular look about him. But then maybe I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. What if Hala is the professor, but he has much more important role within the Alola region, and while Kukuki is not the regional professor, he is regarded as like a regional field expert or something, and he's like the stand-in professor of the region. So like if Hala is the regional professor, he's like retiring or he like passes away, maybe he's like killed in the beginning of the games. He was the regional professor, but Kukuki was like his apprentice or assistant that became the professor, or maybe something else. Maybe maybe Hala goes around in the Alola region and does other things in regards to the region outside of being a professor. Maybe I can see Hala being the professor, regional professor, based on maybe in his past, maybe he was definitely the regional professor, but because he's so old, maybe he's reached a particular point where he doesn't want to be a professor, or maybe there's other aspects, but I do think this person, this Hala person, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, but I do think that Hala is someone who is more important to the Alola region than just being the possible regional professor. And I say here that maybe he's the champion of the region. Maybe he was the regional professor, but what if he was also the or the region's champion or whatever? And of course, Kakuki is the one that takes over and stuff, but there was like a special circumstances where the player character gets to visit the starting town lab or whatever, and that's when he meets a Hala. I'm getting all confused. All these names are just mixed around. So maybe he's the champion of the region, Hala or whatever. Or maybe he's like the big president, the mayor, the region elder of the Alola region, someone who has great authority and power because of it, and you look forward to, and maybe Kukuki being the assistant to Hala just means that while Hala is definitely the professor, it's that we're going to be having Kukuki as the professor type person, like if thinking of the anime, for example. Let's say that Ash goes to the Alola region. I feel like he's going to encounter Kukuki more than Hala if my prediction comes out to be true, and Hala is more than just the regional professor and he's like the champion or something. I think he's going to only be in specific instances, like certain champion related or important moments or something like that. So while I do think that Hala definitely is a professor like person, he researched and stuff and he's coming around and or whatever. It's just that he's like so old or whatever. It's kind of like if Professor Oak were to retire or Professor Rowan. Those are old professors, and they could like retire at any moment and have someone take over. I feel like in this particular instance, Hala being seemingly older than Professor Oak and Rowan, I'm guessing, he probably is at an age where he's probably just passing on the regional professor to Kukuki. Although I wonder why Kukuki isn't also based off of a tree, but whatever. Maybe they're like, well, Hala is based off of a tree. We don't necessarily need something else. But maybe I'm just looking at this maybe I'm looking too much into this, and this is just your typical region, and maybe Hala is the professor, and he just looks a little different because Game Freak decided they wanted to have a unique professor or whatever. So anyway, let's move on to the rival character. So what we have here is Sawyer's older brother. I'll just go and say this. If Ash continues on and does hypothetically lose to Sawyer in the Kalos, I'll be disappointed if based on this character, we don't also get Sawyer in the next region as well. Or at the least, Sawyer appears in some fashion, win or lose. But this character looks pretty cool. Sawyer's older brother, and that's what I'm going to call him from now on until otherwise told what his name. Definitely it looks like a friendly, laid back, and loves to battle kind of rival and looks amazing. Looks like he'd be a great rival to Ash in the anime, and I personally look forward to Sawyer's older brother. To clarify, I don't necessarily think Sawyer's older brother is weak, nor do I think of him as strong. I expect him to be like this average strength character, capable of giving people a chance if like the plot demands it. Like in the anime, I can imagine Sawyer's older brother being someone that would give you a great challenge, but otherwise you would ultimately defeat at the end or whatever. I can see how someone like that could give like Ash a little bit more challenge. I think, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, I think maybe what we're looking at is the anime's equivalent of Cameron, but done better. I don't think to be fair, I don't think Sawyer's older brother is going to be as dumb as Cameron was, who was like, please, I don't know, get smarter somehow. Please drink some caffeine. Hopefully that'll make your brain work a little bit faster. I don't think he's going to be stupid, but I can see how Sawyer's older brother would definitely have a lot of the same personality traits as Cameron, but just done a lot better. You know, I mean, I don't like talking about Cameron. Thinking of Cameron makes me disgusted, but if they were going to introduce Sawyer's older brother in the anime in regards to Ash, I would really hope for something very similar to Cameron, but done right. Because, to be honest, when Cameron first started out coming in or whatever, he seemed like a great character at first. You know, he seemed like he'd be an interesting rival for Ash, even though he was coming too late. The problem then became is Cameron just got more stupid. You know, he had all these powerful Pokemon, even though there was no reason for it. And ultimately, you know, he had only 5 Pokemon in the Pokemon League. None of Ash's Pokemon. The whole battle was done improperly. I don't care if you like the Lucario versus Pikachu battle. There's just really nothing likable about Cameron at that point. But I do say that in the beginning, Cameron was an acceptable person. It's just that they decided that they needed a dumb individual to beat Ash in the league for some odd reason. But I feel like, if anything, if Sawyer's older brother is going to be like Cameron, I feel like this would be done right. I feel like this would definitely be done right. So, of course, let's move on to your mother. Ash's traveling companion confirmed. Just kidding. Purely based on aesthetic and perceived personality, your mother will be traveling with Ash and will have all the fun. But no, seriously, this character is awesome, and I'd really like it if she had a major role within the games or even in the anime. That'd be awesome. Maybe your mother can be the champion of the region. That would be awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Your mother is a really cool character in these games or whatever, so that's awesome. So yeah, your mother traveling with Ash and being the regional champion would be awesome. Wow. Anyway, let's get away from the awkwardness of talking about your mother and move on, shall we? Okay, so we're going to move on from that. Okay, let's talk about the region in general. The Alola region. I like the name. I think it's one of my favorite regional names ever. You know, we have Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, and Kalos, even though sometimes I mess that up and say the wrong things in regards to certain Pokemon. I really like the Alola region. Kind of like how I like the English name of Alola Malola. Sorry, I said that wrong. Aloha Malola? Alola Malola. Darn it, what is that heart-shaped fish Pokemon in 5th gen? Aloma Mamola. Amola Mahola. Stop laughing. It's not funny. Aloma Mamola. Aloma Mamola. Aloma Mamola. Aloma Mola. You know what I'm talking about. This particular Pokemon. I liked its English name, and I thought it was really cool. The Japanese of this Pokemon is basically Mamanbo or whatever. So, yeah, it had a really cool name, and I think it's like names like Alola and that Pokemon's name is it sounds really cool. It's just really awesome. It's just like fun to say, even if you can't say it. Stop laughing, please stop laughing. You know, so yeah, I really like the name Alola, and I'm really looking forward to this particular region. So anyway, I kind of like the design of the region. It looks kind of cool being based off of Hawaii and stuff. But that being said, and I did touch this in a little bit in regards to my starter, I think, in my starter legendary discussion when I was just briefly touching on the things that I was going to talk about in the next video, it does look it does look incredibly small. And by that, I can't imagine the Alola region being all that much to it. Like, there's like not a lot that you can do in it. I mean, I'm sure within the island, it is this huge island with lots of cities and towns or whatever. And I'm sure within the game, and I'm sure in regards to the scaling, I'm sure it'll be a huge region, and I will talk about it or whatever. But I think if we were to like scale this down to the 2D games, your adventure would be over quickly. You wouldn't be spending hours trying to get through the games. You would just be like, oh, I'm halfway done already in the game. Because I feel like technically it is small. If we look at this map here or whatever, and I realize that it's not to scale because we can see cars and everything like that, that seems like something that you can like visit in within a day. Like, you can travel the Alola region within a day. Just hop in your car and you can see the main sites within a day. Heck, even probably 6 hours. Maybe you can see most of the Alola region or whatever. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's something that you can easily think. It doesn't look like it's like a country or a state. It actually looks like it's just a city. It really does look like a big city with particular separate areas that you can go to that are called cities and towns. But it looks like a giant city sort of thing, or even a small city. But I don't necessarily think this actually means anything. So, of course, I don't think it's going to be small, and I will talk about this later or whatever. So, because there is one image that I want to talk about that's in relation to the map, and we actually get to see a cityscape, and it does actually look a lot better when you actually see that particular image, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what they may be doing here in regards to that or whatever. So, yeah, it's I'm not sure I like the apparent size of the map, but the map does look a little weird or whatever, but it still looks kind of cool. We see like a volcano, we see a cityscape, and we see a lot of hidden towns and cities that we can't see and stuff. So yeah, it looks really nice, but I guess because it is based off of Hawaii, it might look small or whatever, but I will of course talk about it. And the reason why I'm hoping that it's not as small as it looks is because I don't want a repeat of 6th generation in that there's not a lot of Pokemon, a lot of new Pokemon, and I feel like something that looks this small is potentially going to look really bad in regards to the number of new Pokemon. I mean, I really hope that we don't just get like 50 brand new Pokemon. You know, I at least want 100. I would love to have 100, and that seems like a good number. Can we please get something like Johto with a couple of more 3-stage evolutions, basic, middle, final, just a couple more of those than standalones or 1-stagers, you know, cut out some of those particular Pokemon for those 3-stagers. You know, something like that would be really epic for the Alola region, and so I'm looking forward to. I just don't want most, or if not all, the Pokemon to be revealed before the games come out, and you're like, oh, that's it? Uh, because when all the Pokemon were out and Mega Evolutions and stuff or whatever, once we figured out all of the Pokemon and stuff, it was like, that's it? I mean, I just have an image of all the 6th generation Pokemon, including the Mega Evolutions and Sun and, or not, X and Y, because of course the Mega Evolutions of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire weren't in the game yet. And it's just like so lacking. It's like you can go through all the Pokemon and be like, yep. It's like thinking of teams was very easy for the most part, especially if you're an anime fan. You're like, well, what's Ash gonna get? Oh yeah, okay, that one, maybe that one. Nothing else seems to work, you know. So yeah, I really don't want a repeat of that. So anyway, let's look at different images with the game. So first off, we're going to talk about your room. Your room looks awesome. I'm not going to lie, that room is awesome. I think it's the most epic room that we've ever seen. Your room is better than the other rooms that you've had in the other games or whatever. That's what I'm saying. You got like a Pikachu plus plushie, a desk, possibly a TV, and your computer. Your room is huge in this game, and it's bigger than my room is actually in real life. I have a really small room. It's like there's this desk here. There's like a little space before the giant bed. There's like technically a walk-in closet type little area that's only a few feet, and then next to the bed there's my drawers with clothes in it, and I have a table here, whatever. This room looks like it's probably twice as big as my room. So yeah, your room is awesome, and I really hope that your room is customizable when the games come out because of how huge it is. It does look like you can customize your room, so hopefully your room will be customizable in the future. So let's of course move on. Now, of course, this scene is why I think even though the region looks small, I think it actually might be big. And by that, I mean, I feel like everything is going to be bigger in comparison scaling wise. Like in the 2D games, it takes you like, what, 2 minutes to get to the next town or city. You go through the route, you don't run into any Pokemon or trainers, and you're right there. I feel like in this particular game, because of what it looks like, I feel it looks like it's more realistic in regards to size, in regards to a region than the other games or whatever. I feel like you could be spending like a few minutes just traveling through the grass, traveling through the area just to get to the next city. Might even be twice as long. And the reason why I say this is in this particular image, you can actually see a mountain. You can see the player character climbing a mountain, and there's that other non-playable character that doesn't have a name or whatever. And you can like see in the background, you can like see things from far away. You can like see the trees and everything seems like it's scaled appropriately, like you're almost playing an open world game where even though an open world isn't as big as it looks, an open world game like maybe like Skyrim or whatever, I almost feel like the entire map for the most part is the size of a city in comparison to the uh, in regards to the scaling within the game. It does look like Pokemon seems like an open world like thing, and I'll definitely talk about the open world idea or whatever. And I'm just thinking if this was 2D game or something like Red and Blue or something like that, we know how big those were, and I'm sure Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I think, proves my point in this. When you played Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, the I'm sure the towns were closer together or whatever, but because of the 3D art of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, is it possible? I haven't played the game, but for those of you who have, was it did it take a little bit longer to get to different cities or towns? And I feel like because of this, I mean, you're a pretty tall character within the games, and I'm looking at this scene of a person possibly getting ready to go and choose their starter, and I'm like, dude, everything else looks huge within the game. I mean, on the map, everything looked like tiny. It looks like you can visit the whole entire place within a day or whatever. Just get in your car, drive around, see all the landscapes within a day, and you're done with the Alola region. But this one, it looks like it might take you a while to actually see everything because of how big everything looks. So I feel like even though the region is technically small, I think everything is scaled differently so that everything is actually bigger because it's like a little bit more realistic to what real life is. Because if we go directly to this particular scene right here, and this is the landscape, it looks a lot different than the map. If you look at the map here, you can see this city landscape. It's like by the beach. There's all these like skyscraper buildings and stuff, and you're like, huh, that's really that's it. That's not really a whole lot there. I mean, there's buildings, you can see cars and everything, and it's like, it seems like in real life it's like the equivalent of a long block basically. You go from one end to the street all the way to the next, and you're already at your next location. So it's like all like, oh, whatever. But if then you come over here to the cityscape and you look at this and you're like, oh my, in actuality, it's a lot bigger. There's also more detail. There's a lot more buildings and faraway places, like a Pokemon Center, like at the end of the city or whatever. It looks like it's going to take you a while to visit all that. Maybe like within games, maybe like 20 minutes to go around visiting all the places or whatever, 30, 40 minutes if you want to talk to every single person in the world or whatever. But then, of course, we get to this particular image, which is more of a you're in the city or whatever, and you realize, oh, whoa, wait a minute, this place may actually be huge. And I'm thinking this is like more realistic. And like I said, this image almost makes it feel like the Pokemon world is, or this particular region is like an open world Pokemon game. And by that I mean it's like you can like go anywhere, everywhere. There's like this huge map that you can go to and explore and everything, and it kind of does look like that. I mean, everything is all huge and big, you know. Everything looks like it's scaled more appropriately. There's no more going up to a building and basically being like a tenth of it, but then you go in and like, oh, it's bigger than I thought. It actually does look like everything is going to be scaled appropriately, so your little character will actually go into a building and it'll actually be like if you in real life you actually went into that building, it's pretty huge. Unlike in the 2D games back then with the 2D sprites, when you go up to a building it didn't look that big, but once you went in, oh wow, there's like all this stuff or whatever. So yeah, it definitely does look like things are a little bit more realistic. So even though the Alola region does look like it's going to be small, it looks like it's going to take you maybe a little bit longer to get everywhere. So I really like that aspect of this particular area in regards to this or whatever. So then, of course, we come to this particular scene, and I'm thinking this is the starting city or starting town. I'm not really sure, but I really do like it. See, we got in the center, we have this like battle arena. There was another scene with the player character walking across it, and I think maybe that's where the Pokemon of the region were sent out. I'm not entirely sure. But it does really look like this particular town is really nice. You know, you can imagine realistically that it takes a while for you to climb the stairs there, to go around, crossing the thing. It looks, these games look awesome because they look like more realistic in regards to size wise in regards to the other one. You can like look at this house and you can think, oh yeah, that looks like your basic small house that you can find. You know, you go in there, there's a large living room, there's a kitchen, maybe in the back there's these rooms that are scaled appropriately. You go in there, you like lay down in your bed or whatever. It seems like everything is appropriately scaled like it would make sense. So I feel like despite the map looking like that's it for the Alola region, when you actually look within the game, I think it's really cool that it looks like this area might actually be huge, and then it might take you a while to get places because I feel like there's a realistic element in regards to the games. Everything, like I said, seems like it's scaled appropriately. Like if within the game your character is 5 feet or whatever, it seems like everything is scaled appropriately, that you're actually 5 feet and everything around looks like it would make sense. So if you're 5 feet, then that's 10 feet or whatever. 10 feet high. If something's looks 10 feet high based on your character being 5 feet, it actually is 10 feet high. Unlike the 2D games where you assume that a building is huge or whatever because it looks huge, but it looks very small in comparison to the character you're playing. So I really like how they put a lot, a lot of effort into the Alola region based on what it appears. So I'm definitely, in regards to the region, I am really liking this. So then we go into this particular image, and the only reason why I mention this is not only does it prove even more of the scaling thing that I'm talking about, I mean, look at that. It does look like if you were that player character and you were to climb up those stairs, it would realistically take that as long as it would take you to go up those stairs. But the reason why I took this was not because of the stairs, obviously, and it's these statues nearby. are these statues of a particular Pokemon? I mean, it would be weird for this to be the case, not revealing a Pokemon, but revealing a statue that seems to be related based off of a Pokemon. But I feel like maybe this could be a Pokemon. Now, the reason why I don't necessarily think it could be a Pokemon is we've had situations like this where we've had statues or something that look like they are Pokemon like creatures, but in reality, they don't really mean anything. We actually had dragons in the 8th gen and 5th gen. I don't know if it was for Iris or Drayden or whatever, but we had to solve a dragon puzzle so we can get to the gym leader, and those were actual dragons and not Pokemon or whatever. So I don't know if this is actually going to be a Pokemon, but I'm assuming if it is, maybe it could be like a rock round Pokemon because it's a statue possibly. But if it's just a statue of a Pokemon, it could also just it kind of looks like a luchador almost, kind of like how Hawlucha is. So maybe if this is a real Pokemon, maybe it's a fighting type or whatever. The only reason that I don't think it's necessarily a Pokemon, but I am going to address it as if it is a Pokemon, is that it just seems so weird that they're showing this in the trailer or whatever. Like, maybe people are like wondering, is this a Pokemon or is this not a Pokemon? Is it just a statue? Because the design does look unique. I mean, that could just be the Hawaii theme or whatever. But it does seem like a little bit more unique, like we might actually see a Pokemon like that within the games. But then the problem is, why are there all these statues of this particular Pokemon? I mean, what makes this Pokemon special? Now, I can think of in other places, maybe there's a town or city named after a particular Pokemon, so of course they would have all these statues and merchandise and stuff in regards to that Pokemon because it's the city or town's mascot. But I'm not entirely sure if that's in the instance or whatever. I just wanted to talk about it because it seems like, who knows, maybe those are Pokemon. And of course, I remember the black and white trailer that we got actually did reveal a Crocorock, but so many people were like, no, that's just Sandile or whatever. But as it turned out, Sandile could evolve into a middle stage that was bipedal, and that's exactly the thing that we saw in the trailer. And I was like telling everyone, no, that looks like a bipedal Sandile. It looks like an evolution. Everyone's like, no, that's just Sandile or whatever. But as it turned out, it was actually Crocorock. So, yeah, so I don't know. Oh, and I kind of missed something here. If we go back to this town or whatever, if you look in the back in the top right corner of the image or whatever, I think that's where you would see it. There, it does look like the volcano. It looks like a volcano because if we look at the map here, we can definitely see some volcano thing like in the middle or the center of the image of the map that we got in regards to the region. It does look like a volcano or whatever, so maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe the starting town is near a volcano. So yeah, maybe that was the starting town. So that's all I wanted to discuss in regards to that. So yeah, it's that's pretty much it. That's all I can say. I'm definitely looking forward to say I am hyped about the Alola region. I can't wait to hang out with your mom in your room. I mean, exploring the Alola region, encountering brand new Pokemon. Nintendo, I would love it if you just gave me a game code for Sun or Moon, just so I can review and enjoy this Pokemon game. This seems like a game that I do not want to spoil myself. This is like the first game where like I do not want to be spoiled in regards to the Pokemon. I want the games like right in front of me, like right now, and I want to go explore the Alola region and discover what brand new Pokemon might pop out of the grass. Like, oh. I want that reaction. What I don't want is what I do every region and generation is to just spoil myself. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I mean, as much as I would like to take a break for Sun and Moon until the games come out, I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get Pokemon Sun and Moon. So I just don't know if I would be able to do that or whatever. And I wanted to do that with 6th generation, but I was like, nah, I mean, just a little, we'll just taste all the Pokemon that exist, and 6th generation. Unfortunately, as it turned out, there was very few surprises in the games. You know, and then of course there's all the anime reviews. What if they start shoving brand new Pokemon in the anime? It's like I can't avoid it. You know, I can't avoid Sun and Moon like the plague, especially if they're going to throw in 7th generation Pokemon. I mean, we're already spoiled with Magearna. Who knows? Maybe there's some other Pokemon that might show up in the Magearna movie, maybe. I don't know. Or definitely in the anime. Maybe one of the fully evolved Pokemon in Sun and Moon. Maybe that'll be an opponent of Ash within the region, you know? Maybe like Blaziken, just hopefully not a starter, because I'd rather wait until close to the games like October or something like that before we get the fully evolved starters that look like it. You know, it's just, I just would love to just play these games already. I am this hyped. I mean, I'm not exactly all too excited about the Pokemon that we already know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, and I already said that my opinion is they are definitely better than 5th generation, but oh, I don't know, this just, it's sparking a little bit more passion for me in regards to Pokemon, and I just cannot wait. You know, just the trailer, all those images, it just, oh, I just really want to play the game so badly. You know, it would just be nice to walk through the grass and have this brand new Pokemon that I've never seen before jump out and be like, "Hi, I'm a new Pokemon. Oh, wow, you are a brand new Pokemon." You know, and just like record my reactions of this, but fortunately that's not going to happen, but it's a nice thought or whatever. So anyway, let's just enjoy the information that we were getting. I was being a little harsh. I wasn't thinking we were going to actually get something like what we got for X and Y when it was first announced. I wasn't expecting starters, gameplay, the box art legendaries, so I am definitely excited. That being said, I am almost expecting another couple of months with absolutely little to no information. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Cora is coming out, but I don't know if I'm going to make a video on that because I'm pretty sure most of everything that we already know is going to be discussed in Cora. But in that instance, if they do actually confirm the legendaries or they reveal information that we didn't already know, I will of course make a short video. Well, as short as I'll try to make a short video in regards to that particular discussion, but don't really expect a Coro discussion. It depends entirely what we get. And so anyway, so that's all I have to say. So thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.